Blood drips from the edge of this map. Not real blood, but it might as well be. This is the Congo, and in the late 1800s, one man turned it into a graveyard. His name was King Leopold II of Belgium. You've heard of Hitler, Stalin, maybe even Mao. But Leopold, he's the monster history almost forgot, and what he did was so vile, it makes your skin crawl. I'm not here to lecture you. I'm here to tell you a story that'll keep you up at night. A story of greed, lies, and millions of lives erased. Let's dive into the heart of darkness. Picture a skinny, bearded man with cold eyes standing before the world's leaders in 1885 as they scramble for Africa. Nations carving up a continent like a pie. He was desperate for a slice, but his country was small, his army tiny. So he invented a lie. He told Europe he was a humanitarian, that he wanted to stop slavery, spread progress, and he wants to bring civilization to Africa, to the Congo. He paints a picture of missionaries, schools, and progress. He calls it the Congo Free State. Sounds noble, right? The world buys it. He even got the US and Europe to recognize his claim. And they hand him a chunk of Africa the size of Western Europe, 76 times bigger than Belgium itself. That man is King Leopold II, ruler of tiny Belgium. But here's the first twist. Leopold didn't care about civilization. He wanted money, and he'd burn the Congo to the ground to get it. Leopold wasn't just a king. He was a businessman with a snake's charm. He didn't want the Congo as a colony for Belgium. No, he wanted it for himself. His own private playground. What he really built was a personal slave state the size of Western Europe. Imagine owning a country not for its people but for its resources. Rubber, ivory, minerals. Leopold saw dollar signs in every tree, every tusk. But to get that wealth, he needed workers. And that's where the nightmare begins. A system of terror. Let's go to the Congo, 1890. Imagine you're a villager living your life fishing in the river, raising your kids. One day, men with guns show up. They're not Belgian soldiers, they're mercenaries hired by Leopold's agents. They point rifles at you and your family. Work, they say. Collect rubber or die. You don't even know what rubber is. It's the sap from vines in the jungle, used for tires and machines in Europe. But to get it, you have to climb trees, cut vines, and let the sap drip into buckets. It's grueling, dangerous work. And if you don't bring enough, they don't just kill you, they make an example, here, where it gets sickening. Leopold's men had a rule: for every bullet they used, they had to prove it wasn't wasted. So if they shot someone, they'd cut off their hand as proof. But sometimes they didn't want to waste bullets. So they just chop off hands, living people's hands, to meet their quota. Imagine a basket of severed hands, some still twitching, presented to a commander like it's a tax receipt. Children, women, men, no one was spared. Villages that didn't meet rubber quotas were burned. Families were torn apart. And the worst part, this wasn't random cruelty. It was a system. Leopold designed it. You're probably thinking, okay, that's bad, but how big was this? Hold on, because the numbers will hit you like a punch. The Congo Free State wasn't a small operation. It spanned 2.3 million square kilometers, home to millions of people. Leopold's regime ran from 1885 to 1908, 23 years. In that time, historians estimate 10 to 15 million Congolese died. Let that sink in. 10 to 15 million. That's more than the Holocaust, more than many genocides you've heard of. And it wasn't just murder. It was starvation, disease, and despair, all fueled by Leopold's greed. Why don't we talk about this, you may ask? Because just like every other monster, Leopold was a master of propaganda. He hired writers to spread lies about his humanitarian work. He bribed journalists, funded fake reports. Europe applauded Leopold. He built museums, funded monuments. They called him the Builder King. To the world, he was a saint saving Africa. Meanwhile, the Congo was a slaughterhouse. Missionaries who saw the truth were silenced or discredited. One wrong word and you'd end up dead or disappeared. Leopold's reach was long, his pockets deep, but the truth was starting to leak. Imagine a girl named Mawa. She's 12, living in a village by the Congo River. One day, she's playing with her brother when the Force Publique, Leopold's private army, storms in. They demand rubber. Her father can't meet the quota, he's sick, exhausted. So they tie him to a tree and whip him until his back is raw. Mawa watches, screaming as they cut off his hands. Her brother tries to run. They shoot him. Mawa's village is burned to the ground. She's forced to carry rubber vines through the jungle, her feet bleeding, her stomach empty. If she slows down, she's beat. This isn't a movie. This was Mawa's life and millions like her. Or take Nzinga, a mother of 3. Her husband is killed for laziness. Her children are taken to work in rubber camps where they're starved and beaten. Nzinga is chained to other women, forced to march hundreds of miles to deliver ivory to Leopold's agents. She never sees her kids again. These stories aren't made up. They're based on accounts from missionaries, survivors, and early investigators. The Congo was a place where hope went to die. You're probably wondering, how does someone pull this off for decades? How did he get away with it? Well, Leopold was clever. He didn't just rely on violence, he built a machine of control. He created a network of administrators who profited from the system. European officers got rich by enforcing quotas. Local chiefs were bribed or threatened to turn on their own people. The force publique, made up of African recruits and European commanders, was trained to be ruthless. They were given power, money, and impunity to do whatever it took to keep the rubber flowing. Leopold also controlled information. He banned outsiders from the Congo unless they had his permission. Journalists, forget it. Independent travelers, not a chance. The few who got in, like missionaries, were horrified but powerless. One missionary, John Harris, wrote letters describing villages reduced to ashes, limbs hacked off, children starving. He smuggled those letters out, risking his life. But Leopold's PR machine was strong. He dismissed critics as liars or anti-colonial agitators. Sound familiar? It's the kind of gaslighting we still see today. And the money? Oh, it was obscene. Leopold made billions in today's dollars. He built palaces, monuments, even a private yacht. In Brussels, you can still see the grand buildings he funded with Congo's blood, museums, arches, estates. Every brick was paid for with lives. He was living like a god, while the Congolese were dying in droves. But no lie lasts forever. By the 1890s, whispers were getting louder. A few brave souls, missionaries, journalists, and even some of Leopold's own men started talking. One man, Edmund Denis Morel, a British shipping clerk, noticed something odd. Ships leaving the Congo were loaded with rubber and ivory, but the ones going in carried only guns and chains. No trade goods, no supplies for civilization, just weapons. Morel did the math and realized this wasn't trade, it was slavery. Morel became obsessed. He quit his job and started writing articles exposing Leopold's lies. He teamed up with others like Roger Casement, a British consul who traveled to the Congo and saw the horror firsthand. Casement's 1904 report was a bombshell, detailed accounts of mutilations, massacres, and starvation. He interviewed survivors, documented severed hands, and counted the dead. The world was starting to listen. Then there were the photographs. Missionaries like Alice Seeley Harris smuggled out images, grainy black and white proof of the atrocities. One famous photo showed a man named Nsala sitting with the severed hand and foot of his 5-year-old daughter. She'd been killed as punishment for his village's low rubber output. That image shocked Europe. People couldn't unsee it. The Congo reform movement was born, and Leopold's house of cards started to wobble. Over 10 to 15 million dead, families gone, languages erased. a generation scarred beyond repair. And when the truth finally reached the world, Leopold had already burned his records. By 1908, the pressure was too much. The world was outraged. Protests erupted in London, New York, and Paris. Leopold tried to spin it, but the evidence was overwhelming. His own country, Belgium, forced him to hand over the Congo Free State to the Belgian government. It became the Belgian Congo, and while it wasn't paradise, the worst of Leopold's system was dismantled. And Leopold, he died peacefully, surrounded by luxury. No punishment, no justice. The crowds even cheered at his funeral until one brave voice shouted, "Assassin!" Not a single day in jail. His wealth stayed intact, his palaces untouched. But the Congo, it was scarred forever. Entire villages were gone, families destroyed. The population was halved, 10 to 15 million dead by some estimates. The survivors carried trauma that echoed through generations. Leopold's greed didn't just kill people, it broke a culture, a way of life. And the kicker, he never set foot in the Congo, not once. He ran this horror show from a desk in Brussels, sipping wine and signing papers. Leopold's story isn't just about one evil man, it's about systems, how greed, power, and lies can destroy millions. The Congo Free State was a machine of exploitation built on propaganda and violence. It's why those severed hands, those burned villages, those starving children matter. They're not just history, they're a warning. This happened because the world looked away for too long. And the propaganda, that's the scariest part. Leopold convinced the world he was a hero while running a genocide. He used the same tricks we see today. Fake news, bought silence, discredited critics. It took people like Morel, Casement, and Harris, ordinary people with courage, to expose him. They didn't have armies or money. They had truth, and that was enough to change history. Leopold's Congo wasn't an accident, it was a blueprint. The systems he built, exploitation disguised as progress, violence masked as charity, set the stage for modern colonialism. The Congo's wealth still flows out of Africa today, feeding corporations while locals starve. The scars of Leopold's reign are still there in Congo's poverty, its conflicts, its pain. And the world, it's still looking away. You'll never hear Leopold's name in the same breath as Hitler, but maybe you should. Hitler's evil was loud, visible, industrial. Leopold was quiet, hidden, and just as deadly. 10 to 15 million lives gone, a country broken, a king who died rich and free. Today, history books barely whisper his name. No Nuremberg trials, no museums dedicated to his victims, just quiet footnotes as if millions of Congolese lives mattered less. We talk about remembering never again. But what about when it already happened and we barely noticed? This isn't just history, it's a mirror. What we choose to forget says more about us than about the past. If you owned a bicycle tire in 1900, if you used an electric wire, if you typed on a rubber key, the chances were high it was paid for in blood from the Congo. The world's progress came with a price tag no one read. When we say never again, we must mean for everyone. Because the world doesn't run out of Leopolds, it just learns new ways to hide them. History isn't kind or fair, it remembers the powerful, forgets the powerless. But if you've watched this far, you've heard their story now. And that means they're no longer forgotten. If this story shocked you, don't let it end here. Hit that subscribe button, smash like, and share this video because the world forgets too easily, and together we're dragging truth back into the light. Let's make sure the world remembers. Every view tells the past. We see you now. Let's make sure the names of the forgotten echo louder than the lies of the powerful. What do you think? Is Leopold the monster history forgot? Tell us in the comment. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.